Okay, we'll call the meeting to order with a pledge to the flag.
That clock's slowing.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Happy Wednesday. Thanks for everyone for coming. We're going to have our annual meeting agenda and recall the annual meeting to order, and now the approval of the agenda.
Okay, I have one thing that I need to add to that.
Okay.
Under the adoption of the budget, we need to put
Okay.
a slash mark and also adopt the ordinance to establish the general appropriations.
What?
Under the presentation, we need to adopt the budget, is
Okay.
what she's saying.
Got it.
Without appropriations.
Well, it says that two more lines down.
I guess it does. but it's-
Adoption of budget, motion? Motion.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
That's
So ordinance.
same.
Okay. So with the change we added, approval of the
Which,
agenda.
yeah, we're okay.
Sure. Okay, we're okay.
You can't, that has to come from the.
No, actually, hold on here. We're getting mixed up here. That is the budget hearing, so that's the board part. Yeah, we're not amending the annual meeting. So just so we're all clear on what's going on
Does
there.
the audience have
So
the
the,
annual meeting?
right, the one thing up there is, this is also our, at the beginning of the meeting here is our annual meeting agenda, and then we will move into our budget hearing, then we will move into our regular agenda. So during the annual meeting part, which is what we're doing at the beginning here, it is open, any electors in the township are eligible to vote. So if you are a township resident, you vote on these matters just like we do. We are all equals on the annual meeting part. So just so we're clear what's going on. What we're talking about on the amendment is actually down in the budget hearing part, which is a board part. So,
And we all reconvene, so to speak.
correct.
Okay, so I guess I need approval of the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Okay, second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now we've got to go back to March 6, 2019, the annual meeting minutes that Kelly put in your box, and that we have out there on the table.
I will make a motion that we adopt the March 6, 2019 minutes of the annual meeting.
There's made a motion. Butch, you second it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I oppose? Okay. All right, next on the agenda is your report by the supervisor. So, I have that, dated March 4th, 2020. Perry Township is in good financial standing, and the board continues to work very well together and continues to provide excellent service for the residents of Perry Township. During this last year, Consumers Energy installed the 37 LED lights and steel poles along Lansing Road and our DDA district, and the bills paid and dedication was conducted at the location, honoring our former supervisor, Sid Grinnell, with several family members present, as well as many leaders from the community. Several road projects were completed, including Scratch Coat Chip Seal on Beardsley Road from Bath to Britton Road, and that turned out real nice. Bath Road from Lansing Road west to Woodhull Township line, double chip seal Roos Road from Britton north to the end of the blacktop, and crack seal Bath Road from Lansing Road to M52. We gravelled Cork Road from Beard Road to Brady Road, shared that with Antrim Township. And instead of two, we only applied one middle brine on the road. Total road work was $186,000 with the road commission contribution of $25,000 for the year. And that increases this year to $30,000. The annual budget for the township was $542,000, and we were under budget for the year. The annual audit of the township was conducted and deemed acceptable by the CPA independent auditing firm. With that,
There was one more thing that happened with the road.
okay.
We didn't do, but the county paved Britton Road through the township.
Yes, they
also.
did. That was their five-year, one of their
But
five-year
that was strictly on the county.
We didn't have to pay for that. Public comments. Open to the public. Okay. Next on the annual meeting for this year is the salary resolutions, and we met, the Township Board had a meeting on,
No, we did that at the March meeting, March,
we did it in
or
March.
February 5th.
February 5th.
February 5th.
We had a meeting, and the board put forth basically the recommendation for the treasurer to increase from 18.6 to 19.1 for the year beginning April 1st, 2020.
The board recommended that the clerk, supervisor, clerk, and treasurer receive a $500 raise for the year.
Yeah,
So that's what it is. That has to be ratified at the annual.
so we need to ratify that.
Yeah, and we have to do each office separately.
So I'm going to start with treasurer, and need a recommendation.
19,100.
19,100.
Did you make that motion?
Yes.
So Kelly's made a motion. Second,
I'll second.
Mark. All right. And
Vote by hand.
Mm-hmm.
shall we vote, and this includes the audience, all in favor of the salary resolution for the treasurer, to increase $500 basically? Okay, all opposed? Okay, unanimous, okay. Next, the clerk, similarly, from
Make motion the clerk's salary be 19,100.
19,100, okay,
Or
and support. Just a second. Wayne, okay. Roll call or a hand vote. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, thank you. And the last was a supervisor. Again, 19,100 per year.
So moved.
Troy, seconded by Butch. And lastly, a roll call vote, show of hands. Okay, all in favor, all opposed?
Do you want me to put that in there, Joy?
Turn the light off. Thank you. All right, any other business to come before the board? Kelly, Troy, any audience?
Not at the annual meeting, no.
No, anybody? Okay, we'll close the meeting.
Make a motion.
Make a motion to close the meeting.
second.
Second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
708.
7:08. Okay. All right, at this time, we're going to open the budget hearing. Troy?
Okay, I brought out copies and gave the audience copy because I got written out earlier. So this is where we go over the presentation of our 2020-2021 budget. I'll just go through it here and then we open it for public comments on the budget. Our income numbers, our budget in general does not change drastically year to year. Our income and expenses are pretty consistent. We did our two main sources of revenue, which are property taxes and state revenue sharing, did increase. Property taxes, slightly. Revenue sharing, we did up that again, and it's finally been growing there. When I was treasurer in 2006, we were at $240,000 a year, and I think we dropped as low as 210. And then now in the last 3 or 4 years, we finally started to get some growth back in that number, but it was pretty stagnant for a long time. That's, of course, based on sales tax revenue. So that is an estimate, but I take the Department of Treasury's estimate and I cut it by about 15%, so that's what we use. Other expenses down there, we did put in the recommended, the salaries that have been adopted at the meeting, subject to the approval at the annual meeting that we just did there. We did have some small raises for our deputy clerk, deputy treasurer, the custodian. We had made some adjustments to our election workers' salaries last year. Our positions that are contracted are referenced in there. Our largest expense, as it always is roads, which we have just shy of $170,000 this year. And we have a balanced budget there for the general fund. Going through it on there, the next one is the DDA fund. The DDA prepares their budget and recommends it to us. We have the final adoption say in it, but this was the budget they prepared. Nothing drastically different from what they normally do. They are responsible for the lights on Bennett Drive, Rose Boulevard, and on Lansing Road, so that has that those utility fees in there. They are also contributing half the cost of the Bennett Drive road repair this year, so that is in there too. We also hold some money in there for, engineering if anything comes up or anything develops with the proposed Lansing Road utility. So, next one beyond that is the sewer fund. That's an enterprise fund, so that money, that fund has to self-support itself. Simply the user fees coming in, the expenses going out. I mean, we always budget some in the high number in there for repairs and maintenance, in case something goes wrong, but in general, that fund just handles the sewer fees, and of course we only have 10 sewer customers, so it's not a huge deal. Next one is the special assessment fund. This fund handles the special assessments coming in and going out. So this money is, it's just kind of what we call it, the savings account. This money is all restricted money. So we have coming in there the Thornapple Drive special assessment. We have the Clifford Fields Lights special assessment. We have the ambulance special assessment. And then also under the income, we have the entire street lighting bill is paid out of this fund. So the other income lines are those for Rose Boulevard, Lansing Road lights, and Bennett Drive lights. Those are coming in and going out because the DDA reimburses for that. So again, the special assessment fund is a restricted use account. So this is just holding the money to be dispersed back out. So expenses at the bottom are all the same as the income. So the ambulance, the lights, etc. Thornapple Drive. The last one, the improvement, investment, land and building. Road fund and roads on cemeteries, those are just effectively savings accounts, earmarked for different purposes. The roads on fund, that is the cemetery perpetual care fund, so that is a quite restricted account. The land and building fund, we've talked about this before, we have been transferring $5,000 a year out of the general fund, provided we have it left at the end of the year to go towards our parking lot sinking fund. So this number in here, I think I wrote that on there before I copied it, didn't I? Okay. So that 23,000 in there, assuming we do go ahead and do our transfer for this year, which I see no reason why we wouldn't, that's what will be in there starting April 1st. At this time, we need to open it up for public comment on the budget and answer any questions or anything.
Anyone have any questions on the budget as presented by Carl? Questions? Audience? Questions? Seeing none, we need to have a motion, the adoption of the budget from April 2020 through March 2021 as presented by Carl.
1 minute.
Okay, yeah, hold on. So first we need to make a motion to close the hearing on the budget.
Oh, first?
I'll make a motion that we close the
Budget hearing.
public portion of the hearing on the budget.
I'll second.
Go for a second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I will make a motion that we adopt the Perry Township 2020-2021 budget and levy 1 mill as reduced by Headley to support the budget.
Second.
Seconded by Mark. Roll call vote, Kelly?
Troy Carmody?
Yes.
Mark Foltz?
Yes.
Mark Frazier?
Yes.
Francis Griffin?
Yes.
Ellie Schmidt, yes.
Okay, very good.
Make a motion, we close the budget meeting and budget hearing and go into our regular meeting.
Second.
Seconded by Mark. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting closed. Okay. Item 12, your agenda now for the regular township meeting. And we'll call this meeting to order with the pledge to the flag.
We don't-
We will
we've
not do
done the
that.
pledge.
We will not do that,
We're
all
good.
right. Just reading, sorry. We can still do that. Roll call, Kelly.
Mark Foltz?
Yes.
Mark Frazier?
Yes.
Francis Griffin?
Yes.
Ellie Schmidt, yes. Troy Carmody?
Yes.
Okay, we've got the agenda. Any changes or additions?
Yeah, at the bottom on the new business, I want to add the Clifford Fields Lights assessment,
Clifford Fields
and then
assessment.
the second item would be the transfer to the land and building, end of year transfer to the land and building fund.
Transfer. the additions.
Make a motion, we adopt the agenda as amended.
Second.
Seconded by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Our first public comment session. Any public comment? Okay. Reports. Troy, the sheriff.
Can you do the
Sheriff's-
minutes?
Hmm?
The minutes
Oh, just skipped over that. February 5th, 2020, regular meeting minutes.
in the budget.
And the
workshop.
budget workshop. Okay. February 24th, 2020.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the February 5th and February 24th minutes as presented.
Motion's been made.
Second.
Seconded by Mark. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Now we have public comment. Seeing none, we'll start with our reports.
All right, sheriff's report. For the months, well,
Well, timing's perfect. Sheriff's report for the month.
Sorry to interrupt.
you're okay.
Glad you're here.
The, so on our stats for the month, we had 147 complaints, and of them, 42 of them were traffic stops. And our deputy has literally just walked in the door here. Do you have anything you want to add to us or anything? I got a copy of this.
Nothing out of the ordinary.
Nothing out of the ordinary. Okay.
I'd be happy to answer any questions that I can.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions?
Okay, Cecil.
We have put together a raise package for the ambulance people. We're having a difficult time keeping paramedics because the big departments tend to pay much more. But there's some other sides to that, and it's less of an intensive workload here and a little more relaxed atmosphere. So there's some people that want to work here. We luckily in the last 2 months hired 2 paramedics from MMR that came here because of that. But we still need some more, and for that reason, Guy is starting to go around to all the meetings of all the municipalities that CESA serves to discuss raising the per household fee to the wage situations. And because right now we're basically the lowest in the county. Some are as high as $100 now. We're 45 currently. We're talking to going to 75. So, so far this year, month of January, it was 131 calls. Of that, 118 were ambulance, and the MFR unit in Byron is now operational, which means that when they have a medical run in the Byron area, they work for us while they're on the run. There's a set amount of people and a vehicle down there that they own that responds, and our ambulance responds at the same time, but they're the initial response. So we're hoping because the call volume in that area is so low that we couldn't afford to keep an ambulance there. So that's how we're trying to address that.
So is that January? That number's down though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is down. We are down, but we went back and looked through that, and a lot of what the call numbers are down are because of no transports.
I mean, they get there and there are no transport or?
Yeah, anytime you respond, you have to pull an incident number, so that becomes an incident. And if you don't transport, it's still an incident, and we've had less of that. Not entirely, but there is, we are down on calls a little bit. Not bad, we're still keeping our average up where we need to on run income. But even with the write-offs we have to do for residents that can't pay it, but that's still an issue, and it's primarily in the area of benefits and wages for the ambulance people. That's where our money crunch is coming.
Okay. DDA, well, we didn't meet. We're gonna meet next month, April. So that's the DDA. I really haven't heard anything about anything moving in or moving out, so. Zoning, don't have a
We haven't
report
done a
yet,
report.
don't have a report yet on that. County Commissioner, he can't be with us, he has another meeting conflict. Mark, the library,
No report.
no report for that. Troy, I-69 trade court.
You didn't mean we're not meeting until April, so.
April, we have a great reports.
We haven't had any meetings, that's why.
You don't want any conflict here in the audience. All right, SEDP. Mark.
SEDP respite came to the
Oh.
last meeting and discussed ways that businesses and organizations can group together their employees or whatever to either give it to all of them at once, or they can pick a single cause that they want to work with. And there's companies that want to be able to do that.
Group everything together.
Yeah, it's, and we also finalized our budget from last year, and we're in pretty good financial health.
SEDP still with Lansing, working with
We're
Lansing?
working with Lansing, we haven't had to start paying dues there yet. We haven't been able to figure that out, there's some kind of legal complication.
Okay.
But we're getting a lot of referrals from the Detroit Metropolitan
Oh,
group. A lot of referrals to this area for businesses wanting to come in this area. This seems to be a fairly hot area.
It's cheap.
It's cheap and it's got good access to good roads and rail.
good. Okay.
And less congestion for traffic at this point compared to when you get down in the more metropolitan area.
Okay. Catch your breath, because now we're going to go into the planning commission.
No meeting.
Okay. All right. There we go. All right.
That was easy.
We have all these boards and we don't meet.
Things are smooth. I told you things are running smooth, so we want to keep it that way, right? All right, financial report, Troy.
All right, you have your bills list in front of you. So we did receive the final revenue sharing check for the fiscal year. So if you notice on your budget to-date sheet, we came in at 300. We had budgeted 285. We budgeted 290 for next year. So the signs are good there. Still some more property tax revenue to come in from the tax fund as we balance out with the county and stuff. As far as any other expenditures, I don't know of anything out of the ordinary. In your budget today, this will be the final month of the fiscal year, and I don't, we'll review it at the beginning of next month, but I don't see anything that's even gonna need amendments or anything. Everything's
Good.
well
Good
within
job.
where it's supposed to be.
Good job, Troy. Okay.
Any questions on the bills?
Nope. Pay the bills.
Mark, okay, I'll say second. Mark. Roll call vote, Kelly.
Mark Holt?
Yes.
Mark Frazier?
Yes.
Francis Griffin?
Yes.
Yes, Troy Carmel?
Yes.
Okay, correspondence. I'm just going to say one thing. We had an MTA meeting last night in Caledonia Township. The sheriff was not there, but other people were speaking. We had the general, who was she from, Dwayne? Well, rural, yeah, talking about
From the
conservation, she talked a lot about, Melissa talked quite a bit about that and different things that was available. And then the coronavirus, they talked about that. Again, the problem is you wash your hands, they give the handouts on that. The problem is people get it in both lungs and they die. That's the problem. So you gotta make sure that people are washing their hands and not putting it in the face and hand.
Yeah, I heard you talk the most.
And so, any other correspondence, Kelly?
Lock Township sent over a notice that their planning commission will be reviewing their
Master
master
plan.
plan. Yeah, master plan. I requested a copy of that when it's available, so
Okay, good.
we'll be passing that on to the planning commission when that happens.
Who's working on yours?
Lock Township.
Oh, wow.
Shiawassee County is reviewing their master plan, draft goals and objectives. I'll pass that along to the planning commission. Put your town on a map. Mark Frazier gave me Consumers Energy.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was for small communities. We had inquired about a couple of things that the DDA had looked at, and none of those qualified.
So we elected not to, I called her back, and so just.
Yeah, they have a grant program.
Participate, yeah. But thank you,
Oh, we had a right to farm complaint on M52 in the township that in the Department of Agriculture came out and determined there was not an issue.
That's all I had.
Okay, public comments again. Public comments again.
Actually,
Yes.
you gave me an opportunity when I walked in. Those of you that don't know me, I'm Sean Gifford, I'm Deputy of the Sheriff's Office. I'm the K-9 handler for the county as well. I did want to mention that if anyone in the community is having issues with people with traffic in their area, speeding, that type of thing, you can always call in. We have a traffic car, a secondary road patrol car, and then our crew, we get out at night and we work areas where people are complaining, having issues with traffic in their neighborhoods or on their roads. These rural roads, people fly, I don't have to tell you guys. So, along with that, we've been working a lot of different breaking and entering complaints. Solved some recently over towards Langsburg. But I'd just like to remind everyone that if you see something that just seems out of place, even if it's mildly suspicious, call and let us come down and determine whether or not it's legit or not. So I've had multiple people tell me, well, I just didn't want to bother anybody or have, call 911 for that. It's not a bother, that's what we do. So if you see something that doesn't seem right, call and let us check it out. A lot of daytime B&Es, they'll start to pick up again when the weather gets nice. So people will be, well, everyone's at work, people will be going and trying to steal their items. So if you see something, say something, right?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other, okay. Unfinished business, we got a couple. Troy, acquisition and disposition of municipal real personal property policy. I know you've been working with our.
Right,
attorney.
well, Kelly worked on this some, and we talked about it last month, and Tom did a review of it.
Okay,
I put in front of you, the most updated one, the stuff in italics was what was changed there. And effectively what that did in Part C was it made it clear that the objective of this policy is for when we're disposing, of either real or personal property. But this Part C covers such that if we have properties that cannot go through a normal, sealed bid disposal process, it covers it. So that's it. And we had that language, this just cleans it up. It references the zoning ordinance, surrounding buyers, etc. On the back part, under Part E, where it talked about if we enter into any lease contracts, there were two parts at the very end that were, Tom and I discussed it, that talk about, our ability to cancel a lease, or that if there is some sort of illegal activity that the lease could be canceled. Again, this is for our guidelines, what we as the board say we would, do or don't want to do in these situations. At the end of the day, anything can be changed or waived by the board of that. And Tom and I both are feeling, and correct, step in, Tom, if I'm wrong at all, is that those provisions that we dropped off the end, those would be handled in the contractual language anyway. And if there were to be a dispute, the contractual language would take precedent over the policy anyway, because that's the signed contract. Does that cover it?
Yeah, and there are statutes that provide ways to terminate a lease for illegal activity, and it's a little different with land contracts, because the land contract vendee, the purchaser, does have equitable title, and so they can do certain things that it's not really up to the vendor to restrict. But as Troy says, these are your guidelines. You do have to make sure when you prepare a contract or a lease, if you do, that you cover these things. Otherwise, they won't be enforceable as to that particular parcel, be it a land contract or a lease. So.
Right, with that, right, we can have these as our policy, but if they're not in the contract, they're not any good. And this is our guidelines to go forward. Does anybody have any questions about this? We can do this round.
No?
Well, I will make a motion that we adopt policy 3.11, acquisition and disposal of municipal real and personal property.
Okay, Troy's made a motion, second.
I'll second.
Oh,
Okay.
wait a second.
Butch?
Yep.
Butch, okay.
We'll replace, we have in here, correct?
Yeah, we probably
Let's do a roll call vote.
And put that in.
will.
Let's see. Roll call. Mark Frazier.
Yes.
Francis Griffin.
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes. Craig Harmon. Yes. Mark Cole.
Yes? Okay. Moving on, water property proposal. Okay.
So, I mean, we needed to do the step we just did first, that was what we were waiting on. So we had that clear. So I guess if we had already approved this, this proposal sheet, my suggestion is that we go ahead and send this out to the adjoining property owners like the policy requires, and then, you know, we'd request the date back by our next meeting and see what we get. I mean, it clearly says in there that we are under no obligation, we don't have to do anything if we don't want to.
I'll recommend we send it out.
I'll second it.
Kelly, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, done. All right, new business, lawn mowing bids. Lawn season is actually gonna come, look at this, early spring, what is this?
Yeah, don't trust Mark.
Anyway.
Don't trust him.
So we had several bids, Kelly, good job. Last year, we were roughly around 500 mowing the cemetery, 50 for mowing here at the hall, and 40 for mowing out there in the
You got them, but yes.
Bennett Drive, 40,
But you got 40 and 50.
40, 50.
Yeah.
So we had the gentleman that plows is Bob Freed, and we had Jeremy Suggett, we had a Davis Lawn Care, and then we had Rescue Me Pure Land Care, which is Anthony.
And then we had Randy Woodpeck.
And Randy was, yeah, he was playing last.
So,
So
these,
those are the bids.
these were all brought in, so we'll just go through them real quick.
Yeah.
Freed of work was 40 for the township hall, 50 for the industrial park, 640 at the cemetery. Sergey was 50 for the township hall, 55 for the industrial park, and 675 for the cemetery.
Right.
Davis was 60 for the township hall, 80 for the industrial park, and 945 for the cemetery.
Right.
Rescue Me was 50 for the township hall, 50 for the industrial park, and 475 at the cemetery. And Randy Woodback was 50 at the township hall, 50 at the industrial park, and 500 for the cemetery. With that, I mean, we had the specifications sent out. This was published in the newspaper. We had several people that had called and asked if we were, you know, going out for bids, and those people were all offered that opportunity.
What is this paying full, 16,000?
So the bid from Rescue Me Lawn Care offered, if you should have that, you have their bid in your
Right.
attached there. They had an option that if we wish to pay up front for the whole season, you know, we could receive a discounted rate.
Basically, save $1,825 for the year.
If you read it in their bid, which is in your pack, you know, further back in there.
Yeah, I got it.
I think we do, Tony Carhoff from Rescue Me is here tonight. Is there anything you want to add or anything, Tony, or?
First of all, I got a sore throat, so I'm sorry about that. So if you can't understand me.
Everybody get there at 95, man.
So, I'm currently contracted with Vernon Township to do their cemeteries. Yes, so option one is all-inclusive, that means unlimited services. So if we have to come back twice a week and touch up some spots or something, we'll do it. If you have hedge trimming needs to be done, we'll do it. Garbage, etc., we'll do it. We have no complaints doing that, that's what we are here for. Compassion and caring, that's what we care about. If you go with that option, it saves you $1,825. If you choose to go with option two, is pay per mowing. That is what it says right there. It's going to cost $50 for each section, and $475. What I have seen in the past is you give them a lump sum contract for the year and save the township and taxpayers money. And if you need extra services, it's covered. No additional cost.
Any question from the board?
No.
So, I mean, with that, obviously, I mean, this bid does have some cemetery experience, you know, which has been a concern, I guess. I mean, our previous vendor, Monroe Enterprises, had done it for 12 years maybe? I mean, they hadn't done it a long time.
Long time.
And,
I'm scared to change, you know?
correct, and, I mean, the cemetery is a very touchy thing. I mean, when things go wrong out there, the upset people call by the droves and stuff, and.
Not the people there, but the people that own.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, many years ago when I first started, we used to employ a sexton as an employee, and, you know, they did all of that. We owned our own lawnmower and stuff. We then went to the contracting out system. In the first year, Dan had bid it, and he was not awarded it. And the person that did it for that 1 year, it did not go well, you know. And the next year, we put it out for bids again, and Dan did it. And quite frankly, Dan's been at the same rate the whole time, and we've just done bid extensions on it. Because at that time, he was the competitive bid, and everybody was pleased with it, and so that's what we did.
Anthony, have you talked to Dan?
Yes, I have. I've spoken to Dan personally about it, and, you know, he said he was going for his RN, and he was getting out of it, and he knew I was going into it. We did briefly discuss it a few times, so he knew that this was something I was very passionate about, and something my grandfather, you know, was going to get into in life, so.
So if driveway, walkway, edging, and spraying,
Yeah.
i.e. like Roundup and whatever,
Yeah.
so that means I don't have to do that anymore after all?
No.
Okay, bush trimming, leaf, and it means I don't have to trim the brushes anymore. Darlene and I are off the hook.
We'll come in and we'll
Okay.
evaluate them.
And you'll even pick up, if we request it, like it's a lot of heavy rain, and you
Yeah.
gotta, and you really, we'd say, could you bag it, you would do that.
Yes. Yeah, we
My
will
questions are answered.
Well, we made addressed some issues over the last 3 or 4 years about the way people leave things there.
Oh,
We
it's a
stopped some
cemetery.
things so they weren't in your way.
Please slow it down.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
tempted
mean,
to
we're
stop.
not gonna stop.
And
You know,
I
it's
do-
kind of a never-ending battle.
And I do know how personal cemeteries are. Being a previous township supervisor, I was the first one to be on the chopping block when something bad happens in the cemetery. So I know how the residents can feel and what they look for. So that gives me that personal touch too, so.
Just to mention for those that don't know, Tony was the supervisor in Shiawassee Township, so he does know something about a cemetery and stuff.
Well, I make a motion that we award the bid to Rescue Me and do the pay in full ahead of time.
You wanna do the pay in full ahead of time?
Yes, I do.
Before, can I modify that one? When we start mowing, let's say we mow April 15th, will you give us maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks before we pay it in full?
That's fine.
So we see how it turns out, and that we're happy and everything.
That's fine.
That's all I'm
Because what we're planning on doing is to start in the first couple weeks in April, is just going in and start cleaning up and getting everything prepped and ready, because we don't want to mow right off the bat. We want to get all the debris up and all the artificial plants put back to where they need to be, or work with the sexton and make sure everything is placed back so it's an appropriate area that can be properly mowed.
What would be the regular cost if we didn't pay you in full?
It's in that list there, Butch, it's,
It'd be 17,825.
well, roughly, depending, we don't know how much mowing and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Correct, I mean, you never know, I mean, if it rains all summer, you know, it's under, if it doesn't rain, all summer it could be other, I don't know.
We'll be out there every week anyways.
This
checking,
falls within our
maintaining,
budget
picking up
guidelines.
branches and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm a little on the fence of the all up front thing, I don't know.
I am too, for being somebody new, schedule, you know, and everything.
Well, I'll withdraw my motion, somebody else can make a motion on it.
I would make a motion that we go with the Rescue Me Lawn Care with the option to where we pay as we go service.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made that we'll go with the pay-as-you-go service. which we're pretty quick about paying the bill.
Oh, sure, no, I just, this is new this year, I would feel more comfortable doing that.
Okay, and
And we can, if it works out, we can look at this in the future, sir.
do I have a second? Butch?
Which second?
Second, okay, roll call vote, Kelly.
Kelly Schmidt, yes. Ray Parley?
Yes.
Aaron Folks?
Yes.
Mark Frazier?
Yes.
Francis Griffin?
Yes.
Congratulations.
So
Thank you for coming.
I will review the contract,
Okay.
put in some of the things are what I had proposed.
Yep.
Change a little bit so it fits your proposal here,
Okay.
and then I'll give you a call. We will need the liability insurance.
Yes, going through Black Road, we're in Michigan, so there are liability insurance carrier.
And then also the personnel.
Thank you. Very good. Township assessor report. We have the assessor and the assessor from the assessor's office and the assessor's.
The assessor's assistant.
Let me try to say this right. Kyle is from the assessor's office and was with us yesterday when we did complete our mandated by the state of Michigan, our March 3rd organizational certified of the 2020 assessment rules and board review. And it was very good. We had a good meeting, I thought.
Yeah, it was very nice.
Yeah, and we had a full conversation with the assessor. What more could you ask for? Tina, we're going to turn it over to you.
Okay, this year, was, another year of adjustments, getting used to, the system that's there. It's done a little bit differently than the way that I was trained. So this year, we're gonna focus on, we're gonna switch some things over, so that it's in line with the way the state is teaching how to do the assessing. And that way I can be able to back up through the land analysis and economic condition factor analysis. So we are going to focus on reassessing all residential improved parcels this year. So I'm going to be working with Shiawassee County Equalization Director to see that through. The assessed values, I agree with those. I think that the way that they're allocated might be skewed a little bit based on the analysis. So before I make any changes that way, I want to be able to go see all of the residential improved.
When you were doing your visits, Tina, did you guys get, much resistance, or anybody meet you with a shotgun?
Sick the dog.
Yeah.
You're a smaller unit than what my other units are. You're my smallest one. And you have a higher ratio of property owners that do not want the assessing department on their property. So that was a little bit surprising. So we just have to go about doing it. We still have to assess. We just have to do it in a different way. And we do our best to make it as accurate as what we can. So we're relying on aerial images and doing sketches that way, measuring through aerials. And it's come to a spot on the back of the house where I can't see. I have to do a judgment, based on, okay, I've seen aerials of other homes, then going out there, I think this is what I'm seeing in the back. And so I do my ultimate best. I'm not gonna go and add on 5 bathrooms or something. I'm gonna look at other homes that is similar and going, okay, this seems to be the standard of what's in this area, and this is how many bathrooms I'll add on. I think there's a basement, or I think there's a crawl. I'm doing best guess.
So you can see the swimming pools.
Right, yeah.
What they did is they sent a letter out to all the properties they were going to visit this year, and that with a little kind of, just
Like
questionnaire. And I don't know what percentage came back.
It was fairly low.
Yeah, I would say like 40 to 50%.
Okay, 50% was what my gut told me, and we put a notice in our newsletter and stuff too that it was going to be happening. I do remember we got one certified one back that says, "Don't you dare trespass on my property," and they we can't trespass, But I mean, again, if they ever appeal their assessment, you know, they're gonna have a hard time making a case if they won't allow the assessor on. You know?
Or any of them that come back and say, no, I do not want you on the property, we do mark that in the database saying that owner refused. You know, so if it goes to a tribunal or goes to, you know, board review, there is that documentation. And that letter is also stated to back up, you know, that it is done on my best ability, our best ability, to make sure that it is in there correctly. And I'm not out to, you know.
What program do you use to?
This BSNA software, that is the state recognized.
No, he said for the aerial.
Oh, for the area? Oh, I use a combination. I use both Google Maps, Google Earth, and Bing Maps as well.
Why, you don't use the GIS system in the Drain Commission?
Oh, I do, yes, I do use the GIS, the aerial images is not always as up to date as what Google has. And so each one of those offers me just a little different view. So for one parcel, I might be looking at 3 different aerials to make sure that I can get it.
One of the things, I guess, that maybe you could do as you go along with that is make sure that, because the one from the county lists the owner's name and stuff on the view, to make sure that that's current to your records.
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of people that use that now.
The GIS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And effectively, I mean, one flaw the GIS has is they effectively took the paper maps and made the GIS with it. I mean, it wasn't like a whole new thing where they took the descriptions and redrew it.
But for instance,
So if the paper maps are wrong, the GIS is wrong. You know.
where they're doing the solar farm on the northeast part of the county, they're using that program to lay out their poles that they're putting in. So it is used a lot within the county. So I guess I would appreciate it if we made sure that information that was listed on it was correct. So that,
And I've been working with equalization, and Mikayla has, to make sure that what we have is the same as what they have. And it's my understanding that equalization works with the GIS, you know, to make sure.
They update, they're the ones who changed the name of
Yeah.
addresses.
okay, all right,
Yeah.
cool.
We need to look into getting maps also.
Well, the GIS effectively is replacing those.
I still use paper.
Yeah,
I still use paper, I use all of those resources. I use paper ones because sometimes they offer something that the GIS doesn't. You know, I love the GIS for, you know, being able to go and look at what's there. And then I still go look at Google Earth, I still look at Bing, because they all offer something a little bit different. And so the measuring tools are a little bit different in each of them. And so that gives me, so I can be more confident that the measurement that I have is accurate. I'll verify between all 3 of them to make sure that it is.
I mean, we have some sections aren't bad, because they're, you know, very rural and family. I mean, we got a couple sections only have 15 parcels in them, but then you get to section 10, which is the DDA area on Lansing Road there, that thing, I mean, those maps are almost useless. You know, they've been so scrappy. You know, one of them says I-69 proposed on it. Well, you can tell how long, you know, how dated that one is. But,
I also have it's actually for hunters. It is a app that I have on my phone, and so that I can bring it up and it'll show, assuming that the GIS is up to date, they get a lot of stuff from the county, it'll show me where I am at so I can kind of get an idea of where property lines are, and it'll tell me who the property owner is. Just, yeah, I mean, it's not 100% current, but it does give me another view, so when I'm driving up and down a road, I can look and say, okay, this is where this property starts, so it gives me a better idea. If something's close to a property line, like a shed, I can make sure, to the best of my ability, make sure it gets put on the right record card. So I do have a lot of different things at my disposal. It's still make mistakes, so, you know.
Well, we knew this was gonna be a transition year for everybody, so.
Yeah, it was a transition, and things, and not saying that things were done wrong, it's different, the old school way, and, way that the state is going to with the assessment reform and what they're requiring now. So it's just transitioning that database over to the new way. The changes are gonna happen more in the background, the property owners aren't gonna see much of a difference.
Any more questions? Kyla, anything to add?
Well, I was the one that went out this year
Yep.
Yeah.
to visit the properties, and most people were friendly, they knew I was coming out because they had received a letter and everything, which was really nice, and people were, if they saw me and their neighbors weren't home, they were always coming over like, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, the police are gonna be called on me because I'm like sneaking around, and so, I always made sure like, hey, like this is who I am, just so I'm walking around your property. But no, it was good. It was learning, where the roads are, because I was not familiar with it at all, so Google was my friend to get me from place to place. But but otherwise it was good. A lot of the sketches were updated because what we had in the files were very, very old, from like the 60s old. So there was a lot of updates. But other than that, it went smooth. It went good for me. So people were nice.
Has it been a year? Has it been a year?
A year in May.
Yeah.
A year come up in May.
Yeah.
I can honestly say that I've not had one negative call on them, either one of them. So I think that's a good statement of fact that the community.
Wait till you do the minutes of the board review next week. Then you can.
I'll repeat that. I haven't had one complaint call. Which is good,
No, it's
which
been
is-
every,
which is- I thought would not be that way, so I'm very happy. You guys are working well together and well with us.
No,
So
they-
we appreciate that.
they respond to everything quickly.
Absolutely.
Everything's worked well.
This is new for me, working with her, adding her on. So it's a transition for my way of doing things as well.
Which is
But
understandable.
I want to train her so that, she can be involved, and,
We're working out the kinks.
okay, this will work better. Since you're here, would it be helpful? I don't know if you guys ever get any calls about, hey, someone's lurking on properties or driving. Sometimes it's kind of creepy. I'm driving down a road and I'm stopping and I'm backing up and then I'm going, trying to locate a spot. Do you ever get calls like that?
We do, actually.
Would it be beneficial for us to call and say, hey, we're in this area?
Absolutely.
Okay,
You can call it on emergency number, I get you cards as well.
Yeah, that'd be great, so we can do that, and say, this is the area we're gonna be in
And this
case.
is
And here's the power, yeah,
Sure.
Because,
okay.
Vehicle.
yeah, okay.
Because we do look kind of creepy, I mean,
Because I'm like parking in front of people's houses and I'm like, oh God.
When you talk about resistance, my father-in-law was a township supervisor in Oakland County and was also the tax assessor, and he couldn't leave a mailbox out at night.
you couldn't what?
Leave his mailbox out at night because he was blowing out.
There's, some of the townships, we're talking big placards out there that says, no township employee, including assessor, allowed on this point. You get other ones, if you can read this, you're in shooting distance.
Yeah.
Private property, remember this one? They have trails going through the property, and they put up street signs that said, you're at the intersection of that assessor and buried assessor, and I'm like, oh, we're out of here.
No reason to get hurt.
So we just do the best we can.
I'm surprised we have more, you do, your other assessment is kind of more in northern Michigan. I would have thought there'd be more rebels up there than there did here, I guess.
Yeah, in one of my units, I even have the Michigan militia there, and so
We have them here too.
and I know them, and, they just, okay, we'll do yours from the road, but, it is, I was surprised, I wasn't quite expecting, that resistance.
Okay, well, very good. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. All right, magnet contribution. That, of course, we usually do that once a year. Kelly?
Yep, we received a letter from Magnet asking this is for funds to help with the, Shiawassee and Gratiot, the Magnet program, which is the drug enforcement team. we have always contributed $2,000 to it, which is what we had in the budget again there. I don't know.
I'll make a motion that
Does
we-
our sheriff's deputy have anything he wants to add or anything to it?
Well, they're busy.
They're busy,
They are busy.
they need
So
to keep
you're-
the money coming in.
Your contribution, I'm sure, helps.
I'll make a motion, we approve 2,000 for Megan.
Second.
Second by Mark. Roll call vote, Kelly.
Kelly Schmidt, yes. Troy Parmalee?
Yes.
Mark Foltz?
Yes.
Mark Frazier?
Yes.
Francis Scrivner?
Yes.
Okay. Morris Homecoming Festival and Independence Day Celebration Fireworks
We're
contribution,
gonna have
Kelly.
fireworks this year again?
I don't know, she must have a letter.
Got a letter?
Okay. Make a motion. That was 2,000 also, wasn't it?
Yes.
Of course.
I'll make a motion that we,
Mark's made a motion to,
for
I'll
$2,000.
second it.
Butch seconded. Roll call vote, Kelly.
Troy Parmalee?
Yes.
Mark Foltz?
Yes.
Mark Frazier?
Yes.
Francis Scrivner?
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes.
Okay, moving on, Planning Commission appointments, Kelly. Sorry. Get down a level.
So we
Last three.
received a letter from Larry Place and also Joe Sanasic.
And there are the 2 terms that were up.
Yep, they would like to continue on the planning commission for a 3-year term ending March 31st, 2023.
Make a motion that we reappoint Larry Place and Joe Osnosik to a 3-year term on the planning commission.
Second.
Butch seconded, okay, all in favor?
We need a roll call.
Go, roll call.
Mark Foltz?
Yes.
Mark Frazier?
Yes.
Francis Scrivner?
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes. Troy Parmalee?
Yes. And they'll be sworn in before their next meeting.
Okay. So then-
May not be able to swear Joe in. but-
Before he does it, votes on action and after April 1st.
Okay, you should have a schedule of the township board meeting dates from Kelly.
So the 2020 and 2021 meeting dates are in front of you. August 12th, I'd like to move to August 12th.
Oh.
Because of the election, and also November 11th because of the election.
So we're not the day after the election, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, well, and the rest of the days were okay, right?
What about the July 1st one? Where does that fall with the 4th?
Be a Wednesday.
Well, I just wonder if the
Well, the
4th.
4th's on the 4th.
No, I understand.
Sorry.
July 4th?
I mean, it's a Wednesday, the 4th's a Saturday. I think we're okay.
That wasn't me, Tina, that wasn't
July
me.
1st
Yeah,
is,
yeah, that's fine. I just want to make sure that it wasn't like,
That wasn't me, Tina. I didn't-
I'll make a motion that we adopt the township.
Motion's been made,
second.
seconded by Mark. All right, going Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay, let's see, are we getting down there? You've added Clifford Fields Life Assessment.
Okay, so we do a special assessment district in the Clifford Field subdivision for streetlights. That is an ongoing assessment, and the resolution in there states that if it needs to be adjusted, the amount adjusted, we do it at our March meeting every year. The board has the authority to adjust the amount up to 10%. If we go over 10%, it requires a hearing. We have not adjusted it in several years. Generally what it is when we first adjust it, it brings in a little more, and then it balances out, and then it comes a little short. That is restricted money, so that's all kept track of. I mean, that money is only used for Clifford Field lights. It carries over year to year.
And what do we usually have on that?
So right now, it is at $45.50 per parcel per year. That brings in $3,458. For this year, we still have the March bill to come, but we will be at $3,585. So it's starting to get a little short. Frankly, the utility rates have been going up, so. And these are unmetered streetlights, just like our Bennett and our Rose and all that, so it's, consumers assign a flat rate every month per light. So, sometimes people ask, well, what about the lights that stay on all the time or the ones that don't work? Well, those balance out because we get charged the same. If it stays on all the time, we get charged the same. If it doesn't work, we get charged the same. So that's why it's always important that people let us know when it goes in. My proposal was to change it to $4,750 a parcel, which will bring it up to $3,610 for the year. So that'll give us a little cushion back into it. So that would be a $2 increase.
I'll second that.
All right.
We need a
Troy?
roll call on.
Troy's made a motion, Mark second, roll call vote.
Francis Griffith,
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes, Troy Crumley. Mark Foltz,
Yes.
Mark Fraser.
Yes.
All right, the last item on our agenda for March 4th, land to building fund transfer.
Okay, so what we have done in our, if you read in our budget to date, under the under buildings and grounds, we have the line item for capital outlay. If that was not what we've done, if we have not spent that on any matters during the year, such as, new improvements for the hall or anything like that, we have transferred that 5,000 to the land and building fund as our parking lot sinking fund. We have not spent anything out of that. We don't anticipate to spend anything out of it this month still, so I would propose we make a motion to transfer the $5,000 from buildings and grounds capital outlay to the land and building fund, parking lot sinking fund.
I'll second that. Okay, roll call vote.
Mark Fraser,
Yes.
Francis Griffith,
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes, Troy Crumley.
Yes.
Mark Foltz,
Yes. Is it 8 o'clock? Did we make it?
We just did.
How about that? Okay, with that, we need to adjourn. Oh, Public comments extended. Well, I mean, it says extended, meaning. Anthony.
Just like you said, for the first couple of weeks, if you want to go to the option one, you can, that's open too.
Thank you.
I'll leave that open.
With that,
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn, second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.